was like, oh,
Good evening and welcome back to the Board of Mayor and Alderman Budget Workshop. It's 6:43 and I will turn it now over to Miss Danielle Brown and Miss Dolly.
good evening. We passed out the financial information for the other funds. So we'll start with the Fund 121, the State Street Aid Fund. Some of the items in this budget, in these budgets, are also included on the capital request. So that would have been page 4 and page 5 that Bruce submitted last week. Fund 121, State Street Aid. We'll add make a correction to this. That $29,000 is for a new guardrail. I will add the $50,000 of operating for guardrails back. And so I'll just reduce the repair and maintenance of road to 1.170, around there. So that's going to be a revenue over expenditures of approximately $2,000. The debt also ended this fiscal year, 24-25, so that's why you have no debt principal or interest for 25-26. Fund 122 is a senior citizen fund. There was no capital information included in this fund. And as you know, 50 Forward oversees the senior center. So that's going to be your operating revenue transfer from the general fund.
What all is that other professional services? That's the payment for 50 Forward.
Yes, sir.
What'd you say, 122?
Page 2 of 11. So that's the 122. That's your senior citizen fund.
Oh, okay, I was looking over here. I got you.
So that's page 2 of 11, and page 3 of 11 is your senior citizen fund.
I'm with you now.
And so the change to the account fund balance is 0. Page 4 of 5 is your drug fund.
Excuse me, Danielle. They still got that money in that yard sale fund thing or whatever it was we started?
Yes.
Okay.
And so for the current fiscal year, you'll see that in Object Code 323, there was a request for $1,794, and that came out of that remaining funds. I think that was for the Christmas dinner or either
Yeah.
the Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I don't remember, but I remember doing that.
Yes.
So this doesn't show a balance of what's in there?
No, sir. I could get that for you if you'd like.
No, that's fine. I'm just,
Couple real quick questions with this 122. The increase by 49,000 on the other professional services.
Yes.
Is that just 50 Forward increasing their operating, or what is that?
That is correct. David, I don't know if you have any additional information, but it did go up.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board, I don't recall right off the top of my head everything that was included in that. I know that did increase because I think they are planning to go from being open 4 days to being open 5 days. So that would increase some of their expenses there. I want to say some of it that was to cover some janitorial expense. I don't know if they were going to bring an outside cleaner in, but I can get you that email that contained why the increases, and I can forward that to each of you. Let me track that down tomorrow, and we'll do that.
Thank you. And then Danielle, also on code 244 with gas, what all is being used gas-wise with them?
That's their heat
Okay,
their HVAC system.
okay. Sorry, I'm thinking gasoline, fuel.
And that would be reflected in Object Code 331, so you'll see that that's 0.
Okay.
The next fund is on page 4 of 11, and that's your drug fund. So this is purely just operating. There's no capital included in this. So you'll see that the revenues exceed expenditures by $36,100. The next fund is on page 5 of 11, which is your equitable sharing fund. Object Code 312, small items of equipment. That includes rifle and emergency communication upgrade. And Object Code 940 equipment includes Motorola radio replacements. And as I stated, that's included, those amounts are included on page 4 of 5 of the capital that Bruce provided.
Okay.
312 small items was what?
Rifles and emergency communication upgrade.
Okay. Gotcha.
Page 6 of 11 is your stormwater fund, which is 127. For revenue, the operating transfer from fund balance, that $150,000 is a carryover. And then on page 7 of 11 is, that's reflected on the expenditures of replacement. It's the dumpster truck, or dump truck. So your expenditures exceed revenue by $206,000.
Question on the interest income, 36,100. What interest rate are we getting on that money? Or do we know?
No, I would have to check that.
Is that in general? Is that just with one of the local banks, or
Yes, it's Truist Bank.
and do we put that out for bid to see if we're getting the best rate?
I don't think so. This is my first year, so I couldn't find that was put out for bid.
It's been quite some time since we have, because we use SunTrust, which obviously turned into Truist. We've used SunTrust for quite some time. Obviously, with all of the accounts we have, it would be difficult at best if we were to change banks. But we do get a really good interest rate on a lot of our accounts because of a different program that we're using with them that started a few years ago. So it's probably about the best we'll do, but we haven't bid it out for a long time.
So it's just a big difference between 22, 23, and 24. I mean, the numbers are changing quite dramatically as the bank rates change. We want to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck.
Correct.
Got a question for Gary with this. So under 265, we've got ditch drainage and repair. We're budgeting 20,000, which is the same as we did last year, but it looks like we've been spending 269 and 403, not getting anywhere close to that. Is there a plan this year to step that up, or what?
Well, there is a plan to indeed to step that up. We haven't talked a whole lot about it, but the main area that we're looking at savings on is the professional services, which is, I always have trouble finding, there it is, 259.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is budgeted at 96,150. We're a little bit ahead, so we got our stream assessment done, so we should be able to knock about 50,000 out of that.
Okay, but I wanted to check to see if we're, with the ditch repairs, and if we're going to get more aggressive on that because it seems we're spending less than $500 a year on it for the last 2 years.
Yes, sir, and quite a bit of that is probably me miscoding things that probably should go to that, because we are buying a whole lot of stuff for ditch repair.
Do not do that because Miss Danielle is
I'm
very, very
very
strict
aware,
on
very
that.
aware. But there's certain things like repairing equipment could go to 2 different places, and I just naturally go to equipment repair. But that's equipment that's used specifically for ditch digging and laying out the grass seed.
Okay.
You know, I would say that that's year-to-date 24, 25 is the 269 and forecasting out of the same year's 403. So this is just the 1 year. So it's not a couple of years.
Still, 1 year, that's low.
No, I don't disagree.
If he's not miscoding it, if he's not
I think it's
miscoding.
miscoded is what I would assume.
I think it's miscoded, yes, sir.
So,
Shame, shame. Thank
So
you,
I'm-
Gary.
Thank you, Gary. I'm curious, Bruce, just for my own well-being. It's not feasible to shop around like at the local banks or something because we got so many accounts?
It can be done, but in order to change all of our accounts, you've got, I don't even know how many accounts we've got, but you've also got all of the credit cards, you've got, it would be difficult to make that change. It could be done, but it would be very difficult.
Would it be worthwhile to, at the very least, have a conversation with Truist and mention that the board may be interested in shopping around due to the interest rate, to see if that gets us any better interest rate? Because that would still achieve the same goal that's being talked about as far as a better interest rate, but at the same time wouldn't require us to sign that nice, lovely stack of accounts all over again.
Yes.
I know that's just for a personal account, and I know what a pain it is just for that, for one person. So I understand that, but I guess when you're dealing with that amount of money, if we can get a better interest rate, there's no charge for changing just one particular account that maybe has more interest.
Yes, I will reach out to him and request a meeting with Bruce and I.
And who knows, I mean, maybe if they know we are considering shopping, that we've been a long-time customer, they may give us spiff or something, I don't know. You know, I'm all about, hey, if I can't get $1, I'll take a quarter.
Yes.
I think Ronnie feels the same way.
thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I love that deer in the headlight look.
I just don't want to respond.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to add on the stormwater piece is that we'll need to, or we're gonna be reviewing to see if we need to increase the rate.
I can't hear you, Kyle.
We're gonna be reviewing to see about increasing the rate from the 350, because if you look at the revenues and expenditures, we're basically at a point where we will not even break even. So that 350 probably needs to be raised to, whether that be 375 or $4. We'll need to look at that. That will be a part of the fee schedule, though.
Okay.
Your page 8 of 11 is street capital projects. And object code, cost center 0046, the advanced traffic management system. That $204,550 is a carryover from current year, and that's the city's portion of the advanced traffic management system. Also included in this Streets Capital Projects Fund is this bonds for $25 million. That is on under revenue, the third line from the bottom. Right under that, you have a transfer from the general fund of $2 million. That is to pay the interest and principal for the first year. So if you go down under expenditures, you'll see the fourth and third line from the bottom. That reflects your principal and your interest payment. So you'll see that revenue exceeds expenditures by $13.5 million, but that's mainly due to the bonds.
And just a question, how do we come up with the 25 number?
You have your, on page 4 of 5 of the capital project, so that includes the roughly $12 million for Blair Road West to Carruthers, and then the South Waldron Road widening.
It's the capital list that we handed out previously. We didn't hand out a new copy tonight.
She was ready. She knew somebody was gonna ask that question.
Thank you.
Page 9 of 11 is your Parks Capital Projects budget. Under your expenditures, object code 939, but cost center 00109 is a carryover of the Greenway Phase 2 of $410,000. Under the Brookside Park Playground, that's $90,000. And the football field LED lights is $175,000. So you'll see that expenditures exceed revenue by $561,200. So the board would need to make a decision if we were going to fund all of these, because we would have to transfer funds from the general fund to do all of these projects.
So, quick question for you with revenue. We've got state revenue allocations. What is that? Because I can see where it looks like 22, 23 we received money, 23, 24, and then it just drops off.
I'm not certain about that. David, do you know?
No, ma'am, I do not.
I can look that up and find out for you.
So David, is this one of them, or Bruce, whoever's gonna send them to us, is this one of them prior, help me with that word.
Priorities.
Yeah, priorities about which one, like, would be,
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, when I sent Bruce my list, I did not take into account the 410,000 for the Greenway. I think that's gonna be a discussion for this board if we're gonna try to move forward with that, because I think 400,000 was allotted this budget year and next budget year, and the budget year after that may be 300,000, 200,000. So I know that project's been a long time in the making, and it's probably not what you asked, Vice Mayor, but at some point, I think we need to decide if we are gonna try to move forward with that. I think the 400,000 would, engineering costs would eat up all of that, and I'm not sure 100% there's still a guarantee that we can get the permission from the Corps to move forward with that. So that's kind of why that one's been on the back burner, because we didn't really have a direction if the board wanted to move forward with that.
I
and
thought
allocate those
I
funds.
thought we already had that clearance with them.
Well, we've had discussions with TWRA and the Corps, and so we have submitted a plan through Reagan Smith. They came out and did some, Gary, you might want to throw me a lifeline. So we, that is in the works, but as far as all the engineering on that project, it has not been completed.
Okay, and the straight answer, Steve, no. The Corps of Engineers has not given us a guarantee that we can use that land. Reagan Smith gave us a price for what they thought the Corps of Engineers would respond to in terms of engineering drawings. They sent them to the Corps and they said, no, we need $300,000 more worth of drawings before we'll even decide whether you can do it at all. So that's where we're standing right now.
So that's what we used for this fiscal year for the 410 that was budgeted.
It was primarily, as David said, it's primarily engineering costs.
Okay, but was that the additional specs that you were just speaking of, or are you talking about basically 300,000 on top of what we've already?
No, the 300,000, I'm just throwing, it's in the 300,000, so 410 was primarily exactly that. Is that the new costs for engineering on top of what we've already spent.
Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, that 410 that you see forecasted for next year was a push from this year to next, because we really didn't know how to approach that. If we're gonna go down that road, then that's gonna cost us considerably more in the long run.
All right, so let's talk about that for a minute, just so I want to understand. So what is our next step to find out if we can even do this to try and,
I'm
It's-
pretty sure we would have.
Basically prioritize the projects, because this is a total project. The 410 will be for engineering to get an easement, but it would also finish up the design drawings to a point that you could actually do the construction. However, the construction cost is going to be probably around $2 million. So if we don't have $2 million to do the construction, the design plans are going to be worthless to us, because we'll have to have them redesigned by a new survey if we have to wait 3, 4, 5 years to do the project. So that's where, if the board wants to move forward with the Greenway expansion and it be one of the top priorities, then we'll tag it like that. But that's going to take up $2 million of, it was mentioned a while ago, a $25 million bond, and it'll take up $2 million of that.
to build a asphalt walkway down there is going to cost $2 million plus all the other fees.
You also have bridges to build over there. I've gone down there a couple weeks back. There's a couple of bridges that have to be built, and you have to make it ADA compliant. So that's a big thing that Gary has been harping on us about. So you want to make sure it's ADA compliant, and if it's going to tie in at all with the walking trail that's behind Public Works, that's a whole crosswalk. So there's some significant money there.
Plus, there's no guarantee that TWRA and Corps will allow us to do it. Is that?
We've had meetings, and I think that's probably what you was referring to earlier. We have had meetings with them that they seem likely to, or they have stated that they would be on board with it, but we would have to have the design plans done for them to give us an official yes, which is going to cost us at least another probably $400,000.
Is there, me and Chief Mays was talking a little bit about this the other day. Is there not any grants that's upcoming, coming available? Who gets those for us? Who's going out and searching for them? And
Well, I think there probably are some grants out there, but to be honest with you, and it's not politically correct, I'm not sure a grant in the long run is worth it because of all the hoops you have to jump through. We can look at Brookside Park. That's been going on 4 or 5 years because we are waiting to get designs to the state that they have to sign off on. So the contractor that you guys approved last board meeting, we are still waiting on the state to give us a green light to break ground over there. Could we have done that whole project in-house cheaper or bid it out ourselves and done it cheaper? More than likely, yes. But we're at their mercy. When you take their money, you're at their mercy to cross every T and dot the I's, so.
all right, so we're being realistic. We're pretty much at a stalemate with the Greenway
Yeah,
financially.
It's whether or not we want to fund the $2 million.
That's what I mean, but
Yeah.
I don't think,
I'll be honest with you,
I don't
this is
think
just,
this
you
year-
guys make the decisions. If I'm looking at this, and this is hard for me to say in a Parks Department, knowing the other needs that other departments require, and this is not guaranteed, I'm putting that on the back burner.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, was in this, dire straits economy and everything, this is something that, I guess, but then if you look at Brookside Park, according to what you say, that's gonna be,
Well, that money's already allocated for that, for the construction. With the $90,000 there, that's for the play structures. You know, we backed that out last year because we were trying to get under that cap, what we could do with what our 50% was and what the state's was. So we had to back that playground out of there. And at that time, you know, this board said, well, we want to have a plan going forward for Brookside Park. Well, and that was our initial plan, was to include those 3 play structures in the pavilion. When we backed that out, our plan never changed there. That's what that $90,000 coming before you guys now is actually to complete the playground out there.
So David, even if we cut the, let's say we pull the $410,000 out for the Hurricane Creek Greenway Phase 2, we're still looking at $151,000 as a deficit. So would that be then looking at the football field for the LEDs? I think we're currently just using incandescent lights.
And that'd be up to this board too. We would prefer to move forward with LED lights because we're constantly having issues out there. We can call an electrician out. If you get one out here, you're very lucky. It may take a month, 2 months to get an electrician out here. Say if we have 20 lights out, we've got a certain limit we don't want them to go over. When they reach that limit, they may have fixed 10 lights. We come back out the next day, we've got 15 lights out. So it's a never-ending battle that's constantly costing us money. One, getting reliable help out here who actually has a crane that can service those lights. 2, finding the ballast for them because they are outdated. And then 3, the bulbs continue to rise. Yeah, I know it's a big hit. We've had several years ago, you guys, I want to say the tennis courts, we updated them to LED and it was 90, maybe 125. We've had 0 issues out of them. We haven't had to have service on them one time. The software has never gone down. We can control them at all times, on-site or off-site. It'd be a great investment for the city, I think. I don't want to be in your shoes because you guys get to pick and choose, have to pick and choose what gets cut and what doesn't.
well, we have to pick and choose, but we need input to see what's priority. and
So
what's-
the football field, out of all of our facilities, gets used the most. We host our events on there also, July 4th is there. Those lights burn at least constant 6 months out of the year.
The big thing is figuring out that 151,200.
We also need to remember that the additional funds would either come from a transfer from general fund or a transfer from fund balance. We'd have to see what is in this fund balance, in this specific fund, and I'm not sure what that is right off.
So you think the LED lighting should be number 1, Brookside should be number 2, Greenway should be
Actually,
number 3?
I would probably put Brookside Park as number 1, because if they're over there doing construction now and we can knock all that out within 6 months and have that whole project complete, that would probably be our number 1. And then the football field lights would be our number 2.
I know, this is just asking off the top of your head, about how much does a service call to for someone to come out and look at and fix the lights and stuff, an average? I know it's off the top of your head, but.
Well, and it's going to be outdated information, because what I
Right.
have you is probably based on a bid several years ago.
Okay.
We had a bid opening this last week, and we had no companies put in for the electrical bid or the ball surfacing lights. They require a minimum 2 men. To run a crane is about $225 an hour, and like I said, this fee was probably 5 years ago, so I'm sure that's gone up. And they're definitely gonna send 2 men. The second man is usually $150 to $175 an hour, and sometimes they have to send 3 men out.
What's,
And it got to a point several years ago where we set a $5,000 limit. You think you're getting to $5,000, you let us know, we'll reevaluate whether we want to continue to move forward or not. And $5,000 is not getting you a lot of service on any of those ball field lights.
what do they usually fix when they come out?
As far as ball field lighting, they usually, they're either replacing ballast in them old lights, bulbs, a lot of times ballast bulbs, breakers, and we even have had them to pull new wires before.
Bruce, it looks like from our last Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting, looking at the financials, the balance was $938,671.
And that's the park impact fees. The capital project fund is $376,942.
370. Oh, yep, next line up. So, yeah, 376,942.
But we would need to double check that.
So without the 410, it brings us to the 151, you said?
That brings us to 151, and the last updated balance we had was for the capital project fund for Parks and Rec was 376,942. So there would be enough to cover the lights if that's still correct, and keep it positive as far as the balance.
Where's that money come from?
The Parks Capital Fund project.
No, to bring it, where would the 151 come from?
It would come from that capital
From the
project
Parks
fund.
Capital?
The fund
I
balance.
thought Bruce said it would come from something else.
It could either come from a transfer from general fund, or it could come from a transfer from the fund balance of this fund.
Okay, I got you.
And for me personally, since this is this is a capital item to improve the football, I would prefer it come from the Parks Capital project.
So if this goes through, and we get you the lighting, is there any kind of warranties with this or anything, or?
I would have to check on that because they're all Musco Lightings, and that's the company that is doing most of the LED lighting in this whole mid-state area. I'm sure there's at least a manufacturing warranty on it, yes, but I can get you that information, yes, sir.
So you've gotten bids, this was,
We have not, well, we got a quote. We got an estimate from the same guy that did the tennis courts because that was done underneath the Sourcewell Purchasing Cooperative. So if we go that route, then it does not have to be bid out.
sure would like to get that walkway, but it's a lot of, Michael Dietz and his guys could go out there and have that paved in a day.
Doug could do it by hand.
And before I leave, I want to say, Gary, thank you. Kyle, thank you for saving me. Appreciate it.
All righty.
Next fund is on page 10 of 11, and that's your police impact fund. Object code 312, small items of equipment, includes Motorola radios for 5 new officers. And object code 944, transportation equipment, includes 5 pursuit vehicles with equipment, which is about $107,000 each.
And Chief, those are Priuses still?
No, sir.
Powder blue?
We prefer the Explorers, sir.
We need to get those charging ports, and they can have electric vehicles.
Can we get a few white ones?
We could ask for a cyber truck. I saw those at the IACP concert.
God, here we go.
I think that's actually Bruce's next vehicle.
Have to put Ford on the back so don't get vandalized.
The last fund is Fund 322, your Fire Impact Fund, and that's on page 11 of 11. And line, Object Code 329 PPE is carrying that over from the current fiscal year to fiscal year 25-26. That's turnout gear for new positions.
Okay. Look what I found.
I got one.
Yeah, no, send that down to Bruce.
He found his.
Good job, Jules.
Jules must have had his back.
Over to the fee schedule.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll talk about the fee schedule. This is the proposed fee schedule for next year. It's not complete, but it's where we are currently in the process. The left-hand column, the very left is obviously the description. The next column over is what we're proposing for 25-26. And then you can see the previous 2 years to the right of that. We don't have any proposed changes currently on the front page or the second page. The second page is our, at the top is our impact fees. As you know, we just made a change to the road impact fees. So we are planning to let those stay where they are for the next year. As you are aware, we do have the ability to increase based on the CPI index. But we're going to leave those alone for this year and investigate it again next year. Page,
Now, this part here that we're looking at, this is under the new thing that we voted in, or the old?
yes, sir, the 70% assessment rate on the
Okay.
road impact fees.
I got you.
The page 3, we don't have any proposed changes. Most of these are codes department fees. On page 4 of 12, you'll see the green highlighted area. This is being removed because the sunset provision for this citation fee expired on September 1st of last year, so that has been taken out. Page 5 is a continuation of the court fees, fines and fees. On page 6, this is engineering department fees. Gary has recommended a change to the construction drawing fees, going up $5 plus $2 per dwelling unit or lot. And then in yellow, I highlighted that stormwater user fee because we need to review that and see if we need to make any changes to that monthly fee for stormwater.
What's ERU?
ERU,
Equivalent
yeah,
residential unit.
it's right there above it. It's 3,181 square feet. On page 7 is we get into the Parks and Recreation fees. You'll see an area there in green, which is a proposed changes from David and his group. I decided to make this a separate section instead of trying to piece it into the existing, but you can see the different categories there that they are proposing to change to. Some of this, if we decide to go this route, will require an amendment to the municipal code as well, as far as the structure of the different fees. So we'll have to go through that process if you want to go in this direction. Page 8 is your planning department fees. We're not currently proposing any changes there. Page 9 is your police department fees and your public works fees. Currently not proposing any changes there. Page 10 is getting into your utility fees. Sewer comes first. Nothing proposed on page 10. Page 11, you'll see a section in yellow. Those are still left to be determined based on the water, the sewer charges in the study. And then the green section there is the usage charges for the Blair Road Sewer Basin. This is what Smyrna is proposing to change their fees to, so we would change ours to match.
Okay.
And then on page 12, the last page, you'll see at the bottom the usage charges for water, and those are again highlighted. That's still left to be determined. And we may have a couple of other proposed changes from different departments that we've not received yet, but we will update this for next week as well. Any questions, comments, concerns on the fee schedule?
I have a question. I've always wondered, but I gotta find out where I'm going here. When it comes to offenses, parking violations, handicap, speeding, things like that, who sets the,
The state does. I can help out. So the state does. There has been some conversation this year, but I don't believe it passed. Bruce, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but they were going to increase the $50 caps up, but I don't think it passed. Bruce, did you hear anything on that one?
I have not heard anything about that yet.
I'll reach out to Representative Stevens to see if he can confirm for me if it did or not, but a lot of that is set by the state, and a lot of that is, quite frankly, a slap on the hand. Chief, I don't know if you agree or disagree with that one, but it's definitely the individual fines by themselves aren't very high, and then usually when you combine them with court costs, that's whenever people get a little upset with it. But
You also have to remember that a lot of these fines are limited by our charter and municipal code in state law. So that's why it tops out at $50. But most of these are mandated by TCA. And then the ones that we did increase some a couple of years ago now. The judge went through and worked with our court clerk, and we did make some changes where we could. But we were basically topped out at $50.
they just, I mean, really, they seem so low. They're not putting any kind of fear in any of these. Oh, I got names for them, but I won't call them that, but people that don't like to obey the law. It's just crazy. 21 mile an hour over the speed limit's $20.
Then you look at the insurance.
Well, I know there's, most of them don't have insurance. But I just always wondered who regulates that, who says we can't, you know, that's all we can charge. I guess they gotta pay court fees and
There's court
attorneys
costs,
and
court
things like
costs.
that, and I understand it gets in their pockets, but as far as, doesn't the city get some money?
I think they just get the court costs. They get the court costs.
It depends on the different fines. Some fines go to us, but a portion does go to the state, depending on what the violation is.
Yeah, I'd just like to know why there's not, what reason? It's like a slap on the hand, as you said.
anything else, Bruce?
That's all for me.
Danielle?
That's all that I have.
Miss Dolly? Ronnie?
I'm listening.
Okay, call this workshop adjourned.